You know, about a year ago, I talked about on this channel potentially getting into science fiction.
This is a Philip K. Dick speech that he gave in 1978. I always confuse Philip K. Dick with the author of I Love Dick. I don't think I'm the only one to have that mess up happen in their life. Anyway, Philip K. Dick is a very famous sci-fi author. I told myself I would get into sci-fi this year, and this is my way of getting into that.
I talked about potentially getting into Philip K. Dick. I talked about potentially exploring my horizons, seeing some books and some tales that I haven't explored before. If you don't know what I usually talk about on this channel, I usually talk about literary fiction, memoirs, all of the fun things that are very topical and feel like they're very pertinent to my life as a fun, hip girl in New York City. And this week, I want to explore reading a genre that I have not tackled before, at least publicly, in a more formal and open domain. So this week, we're going to be talking about reading cyberpunk. We're going to be talking about reading some science fiction. We're going to be exploring two notoriously famous novels in those genres. The first being Neuromancer, and the second being Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. Now, you might know this book by a different title, maybe a little bit more of the famous sister title, which is, of course, the movie adaptation, which is Blade Runner. Blade Runner, the original adaptation was what, in the 80s? And then, of course, we have Blade Runner 2049, which I gotta hold onto my camera because the wind is blowing. And New York City feels like the perfect place to explore this genre. We're in this bustling city filled with pipes, screams, the steam coming out at any given time. Let's talk about what cyberpunk may be. So hold on, I want to show you. I want to show you how pretty it is over here right now. Wow. Wow. So what the heck is cyberpunk? Cyberpunk is a dystopian science fiction subgenre famously defined by the phrase high-tech, low-life. It features advanced technological environments like cybernetic implants, AI, and megacorporations juxtaposed with social decay, extreme economic inequality, and urban grit. Feels like it's exactly New York City. Oh, wait, hold on. I want to do something really epic. Don't look. Don't look. Hold on. Does this feel cyberpunkified for you? Does this feel like it? I don't think it was worth it. I don't think the bit was worth it. Anyway, guys, we're checking in, okay? We are checking in. I don't want to show my knees. That feels a little weird. We're checking in on my cyberpunk sci-fi journey. And let me tell you what, I'm deep in it, okay? I'm deep in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And I love it. Neuromancer, we're gonna have a big conversation. I am in these worlds, I am inhabiting these worlds. I feel like I'm seeing these worlds everywhere, okay? I was just in a bathroom today and I had to take out my camera and film it because it looked like it was cyberpunk. It looked like it was sci-fi. And I feel like in Neuromancer specifically, I'm in that world. I feel like Case is creating this very dewy and grainy, and I don't know, I'm just imagining it constantly drizzling in there. In what captivating world building that we're establishing.
And if we're talking about world building, I interrupt this broadcast for a special note from today's sponsor, which is Lumi Bricks. If you've been on this channel before, you know that I am a huge puzzle builder, so I was so excited to work with Lumi Bricks, and especially to listen to Neuromancer while building a cyberpunk neon city. Lumi Bricks are an incredibly high-quality building world. What I find so exciting about their products is there's so much detail put into every single piece. It's not stickers put onto the little building box, it's actually nicely designed. And if you like stories, much like I do, and I'm sure you do as well if you've clicked on this video, there are little storylines as you flip into each individual section as you are building it, and of course that entices you to keep building. It is so incredibly vividly imagined. All of the pieces are malleable, there's so many working parts behind it, and as you go along, of course, everything is electrified. You're able to actually wire in light. It creates just much more of a fantastical sort of adventure. And let me tell you, you're gonna spend so much time doing this and you're gonna think, oh my gosh, these are gonna be so expensive. The value of these are really, really impressive. Is it 200? Is it 300? How much could this be? Let me tell you, it's less than $150. It's a steal and you will have so much fun. It's such a great way to listen to an audiobook or listen to a podcast or just relax your brain and zone out and put together the pieces. I had a lot of fun listening to Neuromancer while building this because it felt like while I was listening to Case's story, I was simultaneously building a world that maybe he would inhabit. So if you would like to check out Lumi Bricks, you can do so by clicking the link in my bio. Thank you so much again to Lumi Bricks for sponsoring today's video. video. Now, let's go back to the video.
And I also feel like we need to talk a little bit more about what the significance of each of these books is in the cyberpunk sci-fi community. Now, from my understanding, Neuromancer was published in 1984. Also feels like a very significant year. 1984, the book. Anybody? Feels like they are crossing paths. Neuromancer was written in 1984, and the very classic Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, I believe, was published in 1968. Yes, in 1968. So you do have Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep being published significantly earlier than William Gibson's Neuromancer, but Neuromancer is seen as kind of the forefront, the establishing piece to this cyberpunk community. Now, the word cyberpunk wasn't even really coined until 1983 when Bruce Bethke published a short story, Cyberpunk. This is when everything started to become established, when pieces started to fit together. So, of course, Neuromancer being published in 1984, from my understanding, that was the granddaddy, the one who really laid the foundation of how these worlds worked, a lot of the infusion of AI, the confusion of people, where technology ends and where people begin, that sort of idea. But it's really interesting that in 1986, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep was published by Philip K. Dick, and that has now kind of become, at least visually, I think, because of Blade Runner, the movie coming out, and really having this lasting impact for the cyberpunk world, at least really defining, I think, the visuals of what that world could be. It's interesting that it was published so far in advance, and it was only until 1984 with Neuromancer really becoming the one to put a face to it, where I think Blade Runner, as we know, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, was the visual forefront. And then, of course, you do start to get into a lot of the movies that are cyberpunk aligned. Total Recall, I just watched that last year, which was awesome. And one of my favorite movies of last year. I was incredibly surprised by how much I liked that movie, and also the fact that I had never seen it. I'd never seen it. Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of the greatest actors of that time. Sorry, do I have to say anything more? Sorry, I'm not going to. Predator, get out of here. Get out of here. Not cyberpunk, but feels like it could be. Anyway, so you have all of these incredibly influential movies. Probably most pertinent to Neuromancer, the big old granddaddy of the cyberpunk world, is The Matrix. As you read Neuromancer, you do start to find that there's quite literally references to The Matrix, which, of course, the name of the movie. And again, if you want to put visuals to the idea of this cyberpunk world, this cyberpunk nation, The Matrix feels like it is the most aligning with what Neuromancer was probably trying to say. So let's talk about the books. The books that are being experienced for me. I have to be completely transparent when I say that I am having a little bit of difficulty with Neuromancer. I think because a lot of this terminology is so foreign to me. If you don't know, when reading a lot of science fiction or when reading a lot of cyberpunk books, there are very distinct terminology to these worlds that are being created, and it might either be within the cyberpunk world or it might just be very distinct to that book. Neuromancer, for example, is colliding with so many different forces that I'm a little bit tuned out of it. I'm having a little bit of difficulty grasping onto it because this feels like the volume of characters and the volume of tumult is so much more than Do Androids Dream of Electric Sleep. So there is Case, who is this very kind of like troubled ex-hacker. He has, from my understanding, been kind of implanted with a disease, and there's this amazing world building that's happening throughout this, which I really, really appreciate. And I think that that is probably what's most enticing about this. I don't know if I'm really able to follow the story, but he's been tagged along by this woman named Molly who kind of guarantees him or tells him that there might be a solution, and they're traveling all over the world. It starts in Chiba City? This starts in Chiba City in Japan, and then they go to San Francisco, they go to Turkey, they go to, where are they right now? I think they're in Paris, maybe? They've traversed all over, and there's a really actually interesting part where I'm in right now, where there's something called SAS, which is kind of like an airborne illness, like an airborne distress that people have. And I think what is working for me in Neuromancer is the distinctness, the very niche way that these things are being described is working for me. And I think I'm much more attaching myself onto the capsules of information as opposed to the story as a whole. Whereas, on the other hand, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I am so into this book. I am so much more into this book than I thought I was going to be. I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am to open this up every single day. First of all, so much less dense than I thought it was going to be. I was a little bit apprehensive to get into this because oftentimes, as somebody who reads a lot of literary fiction, who reads a lot of memoirs, who reads this really heady and emotional space, I am nervous to read science fiction because of, again, the terminology, and it feels like there is a little bit of a gate that I have difficulty accessing. But with this, once I got past about the first couple of pages where it was laying the foundation for who these characters were, what they were going to be, and as I started to learn who was doing what was happening, which happens about, I don't know, maybe 40 pages in, I'm so invested in these characters. So this starts with a character named Rick Deckard, and he is a bounty hunter, which is essentially somebody set out to find androids and annihilate them. Now there are about 6, when the book starts, there are about 6 androids that he is looking for. He had another bounty hunter who got rid of 2 of them, and now Rick is on this very convoluted journey to eradicate the remaining members. Now what this is going on about is a lot of the idea of you really can't distinguish between who's an android, who's an AI, and who is a human because they become so far advanced. And where I am in this particular part of the book is it's really focusing in on how sentient and how alive these androids have become. And it feels like an especially pertinent conversation to be had because right now, so much conversation about AI, right? There's so much conversation about AI and where we are able to divide from it being a useful tool, it being something that we can absolutely pinpoint to something that has become completely its own thing, and it's basically removing a lot of the human components. Even though this was written in 1968, how illuminating and eerie is it that so many of these conversations are being had in 2026 when in 2021 this world began and was established. And it's so crazy to me. I think even if you're not invested in science fiction, this feels like a really kind of like gateway drug into it. Doesn't feel like it's too hard to access, and I really am enjoying my experience so far. So I think where I'm interested is seeing where these AI conversations are going to go. That's at least where I'm reading into it as somebody who reads books like that. I'm really interested to see where they go. So that's what we'll check into. I'm sure I'll hopefully maybe finish this book tonight or within the next coming days, but I'm so excited, and I would love to take you on the journey. Take you on the journey, baby. So let's keep reading. Oh yeah, that was rough. La da 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 da. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm in a robe right now, but I did put on a full face of makeup because, you know, I can't really be that transparent on the internet. I'm going to be honest with you. I want to look great, partially, but also there's a part of me that feels like there's a looming dread, a sadness, and I can't really get motivated to put on a fit fully like I might otherwise want to. And let me tell you why I feel a little bit of dread. Oh! Well, I can't feel dread with that sun coming out. As you see, I'm outside. If you can hear a little bit of the birds chirp, this is a wonderful microphone, and technology is on my side. And that's not necessarily what this video is about. We've obviously been exploring cyberpunk, we've been exploring sci-fi, we've been exploring 2 books that are notoriously associated with these worlds. Now, what I will say is this, I couldn't finish Neuromancer. I'm gonna be honest with you. That book kind of got me twisted. It got me a little bit lost. I wanted to enjoy it. I wanted to like it. I wanted to feel that world. And I think I did. I think that helped me understand this cyberpunk, this science fiction, this very sad human technology parallel in a way that I haven't really felt atmospherically in a lot of other books. I can appreciate the foundation that that book laid for a lot of things. And I think more than anything else, what I really wanted to pinpoint with cyberpunk and these worlds that are being built is that people are not happy with their association with technology. A lot of these cyberpunk worlds are dealing with this noir parallel because a lot of this world is now rife with crime. It's rife with sadness. It's rife with an unhappiness that has been perpetuated through their life because they're not living as humans anymore. They're living as companions to this very electric and very technology driven world. And I think that that is what I got most out of Neuromancer, was this very unsettled and kind of dust laden life that people are experiencing. They're not experiencing life with richness anymore. They're just surviving. And that's what I felt most about Neuromancer. And that's what I'm happy that it provided with me, because baby, I'm going to tell you something. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is a banger of a book. Holy I couldn't give Neuromancer the love and attention that it might have deserved, because this book occupied my mind, my time, and maybe my future. They should be teaching this in schools. Also, I do want to say, yes, this is the inspiration for Blade Runner. I've never seen Blade Runner, the movie. I saw Blade Runner 2049, the newer vision for Blade Runner, but I can't remember it enough, nor do I think I had enough of the backstory of Blade Runner to really have an opinion on it. Reading this, I want to go and watch the original Blade Runner and see what was taken from this, where they veered off. I was trying to look up characters to see if all of the characters were adapted from the book into the movie, and it seems like there was a couple of characters that were left out. Specifically, I don't know if John Isidore, and I didn't talk about him before, he is another human. He is a chicken head. He's more of just a special. He's somebody who's a human, but he doesn't have a high IQ. So he's seen as kind of a subhuman. He's a driver for a veterinary clinic. I didn't really talk about also the importance of animals in this. Electric sheep, right? That's right in the title. That is something that people have been able to purchase. People have been able to purchase electric animals to feel this sense of life, to feel this sense of vitality, to feel this sense of taking care of and nurturing, because at the end of the day, everybody loves animals, right? That's something that's rung true for humans for a long time. I think even if you're the most pessimistic and downtrodden person, you can look at a fluffy bunny and say, oh my God, I love that. And that is what I think the main theme of empathy comes through in this, is humans feel an empathy and a love towards animal. Real animals, aside from electric animals, are seen as these high valued and desired products. Every human is looking to have a real animal. The ability to see a wild animal, an animal out in the wild without being purchased for a high amount of money, is something that has been long forgotten. And that's the sadness of this book, is that the natural life has been abandoned for this very manufactured world. And so that's one of the more dividing factors between these androids and people, is that androids don't have the ability to feel empathy. With the animals, that's where you can really see this whole testament take place. So I'm going to put this book down because I'm a human and my hand hurts from holding it up. So you have Rick Deckard, who is the main bounty hunter, and then you have John Isidore, who is this chicken head, this kind of lower individual. And the reason I bring him up is because he comes into play towards the end. And I'm not going to spoil this book because I really think that everybody should read it. But I think what he represents is that even if he's not a intellectually superior human, he still carries empathy, and he still carries the pillars of what makes a human in this world where androids are the most highly intelligent things on the planet. They still lack the thing that makes a human, which is empathy, which is an ability to feel. And I think that that is what this character of John Isidore represents. And I think that that is what Dick is trying to convey in these stories, is that yes, technology is fascinating, it's illuminating, it's so strong and exciting, but it'll never truly be human. It'll never truly be able to capture the most base human interactions and human ways of going about. Perfect example. We use Google every day, right? I mean, I think everybody uses Google, whether they know it or not. My dad and my mother are antique dealers. If you've seen my house, I've had it in a couple of videos. They have an uncanny ability to collect and create like an antique place in my house. I mean, you would think all those things have been purchased for cheap or picked up on the side of the road. Anyway, my mom found this chair from a long, long time ago. She paid about $30 for it. My mom and dad are starting to archive a lot of their antiques in the house, trying to document them and make sure that they have a written history of them. Anyway, my dad was talking to Google, trying to cipher through Google and get information on this particular chair that he had. And he had been on it for an hour, really doing this deep, extensive research. And he was, I guess, AI's or Google's new model is through this AI, and he'd been talking to it for about an hour. And he started to get some contradictory answers. And finally, after this long, extensive research, he couldn't understand why Google was giving him answers that didn't really make sense. And finally, he called out Google, and it gave him this response where it said, "I apologize, I was giving you the wrong information." What? What? It had been so concrete and so sure in the way that it was giving information to him until he saw a glaring hole in it and called it out, and it finally backtracked and said, "Yes, I was basically lying." It's so crazy to think about that we're in this world, this 2021 world that was established in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. We're in this world now. We don't have robots walking amongst us that are passable as humans. Maybe not. The thing that I want to say about cyberpunk and all of this science fiction world is that 9 times out of 10, these stories, people aren't happy. People aren't happy. And that is the thing that I think is most illuminating to take away from all of this, is that people aren't happy. This was great. Neuromancer, I'll give you another shot, babe. I'll give you another shot. I'll try. Now I'm going to have an existential crisis, and I might lounge around in this robe for a little while because you know what I can, I'm human. Anyway, you guys are wonderful. You're fabulous. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you in the next one. Don't look at my nails. I'm just a human.